Hey guys, welcome to this live stream. It was something I thought about doing, just figured might as well do it because kind of in the mood to do it. Yesterday, of course, I did a video where I did a bit of I guess you could, well, no, I wouldn't say it was a follow up, but basically talking about the fact that this past March, not May, I made a mistake by saying May, but this past March, this year marked 10 years since issue 222 came out. And then, of course, we know that May was, oh no, May, but April was 223, 224 was in May, and then 225 was in June, and then July was 26, August 27, September 28, October 29, and November 30th. So, yeah, basically it's been 10 years since, all this happened. And let me check that real quickly. Of course, we're going to have commercials first. Or, hold on, guys. Just checking something. That was in June, and then July was 26, August 27. Okay, just making sure it's working. But yeah, I wanted to do this, and I do apologize for any lag or anything because, of course, this being, you know, this being, basically me going into other uh, places like Facebook and everything to link this, it does cause a little bit of an issue sometimes. Uh, but yeah, I wanted to come on here because like I said, I've just been in the mood, and like I said yesterday, I did the video talking about the fact that back in March, and well, when like I said, I miscorrected myself because I said May, but basically around that time frame is when this all began, because we all know that 222 was the issue we'd all been waiting for, and also the fact that basically, that was one of the first issues to lead into the Mecha Sally situation, or the Sonic Genesis deal, which led into the Mecha Sally situation down the line. Which, again, if you look at the fact that 222 was in March, 23 was in April, 24 was in May, 25 was in June, July was 26, August 27, September 28th, and then next month, will mark 10 years since issue 29, which wrapped up the whole Sonic Genesis arc. Then November is when it began. So basically, in about a month, 2 months literally, it's going to be 10 years since the whole Mecha Sally thing started. 10 years. Yeah, 10 years since that began. Because, like I said, 26 began in July, 27 in August, 28th in September, 29. So, yeah, November will be when the Mecha Sally thing started at the end of issue 230. And then the end of the year, if you will, marks when the whole Mecha Sally thing really started to take off, and all that. And that is basically, as I mentioned before, and others have mentioned before, is one of the more controversial, if not disdained, story arcs out there. I mean, again, I've said it before, and others have said it before. We understand that Ian Flynn wanted to create some drama. We get that. We understand, Ian wanted some drama, in the story. He wanted to basically, I mean, Ian himself said it best. He wanted to basically do something that, no other writer before him had done. And that's basically really, just really show that even the freedom fighters had to face some major consequences and setbacks. And long story short, all this really was in the end, for what Ian has said, was, just a way to rebuild the freedom fighters, build them back up, because, he knew there was a new generation of fans that were reading the books, that were more game oriented fans, that didn't know why, the freedom fighters was such a big deal. And thus, the direction he went in it was a very popular decision to go with or not, was one way of, basically proving the fact and showing the fact as to why the freedom fighters were very popular with a lot of fans. Most importantly, to the newer fans that were out there, that were watching. So yeah, basically, 222, like I said, was one of the first issues to lead into that, because 23 would happen, then 24, then 25, and then so on. And don't worry, come November, if not sooner, I will be talking about the Mecha Sally arc on its 10th anniversary. Believe me, I might even talk about it a lot sooner than expected, because it is one of those story arcs that, again, even though we can understand maybe why Ian did it, it's one of those that are like, really, did you have to go that route? Did you have to do this? Did you have to do that? It just didn't sit well with a lot of fans, I'll put it that way. But anyway, that's not entirely what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is the Sonic and Sally relationship, and why basically, fans support it. Why fans, I should have put a lot of fans, but I'll correct that later. Why a lot of fans support it. And, there's various reasons. As to why fans, support it. Various reasons. Now, like I said in the description, I do understand, and I've mentioned this before, and others have pointed this out. There are some fans that don't support the Sonic and Sally relationship, and, they have a right to that opinion. They feel that, Sonic should only, be a solo act, like he shouldn't have anybody to tie him down, or Sonic should be with Amy because she's a game character, or Sonic should be with Blaze because she's a game character, stuff like that. And that's understandable. That is understandable. We get that. We understand that. But what I think some fans that, make that argument, make that debate, fail to understand, what they fail to understand is the fact that basically, uh, Sonic and Sally's relationship is one that, from a friendship standpoint, a little bit of trivia, began way back before anybody knew it. I mean, a lot of people have to remember that historically, Ray Squirrel was basically the prototype of Sally, of what Sally would be. And then, Ray the Squirrel got gender swapped into a female squirrel who ended up getting the Sally name. This Sally, though, had a pink bow in her hair and all that. And then that just evolved slowly into the Sally we now know and love and support. So, there are, again, like I said, there are some fans that fail to understand it or see that to an extent. They don't, they're like, well, because basically they're like, well, we don't see Sally in the games a lot. Why is she such a big deal in Sonic's life? And again, she is part of the games, but she's a character that was a prototype to what she would become. That is fact. That is indeed fact, if you will. Anyway, though, the relationship is one of those relationships that, when you really get down to it, and some people may say it's a strange comparison to make, but it's one of those relationships that basically is comparable to the likes of, let's say, a Spider-Man and a Mary Jane, or a Superman and a Lois Lane. You can't imagine you can't imagine a comic without that pairing. You can't imagine a story or any interpretation of the characters in any kind of franchise or media without them being together. You can't imagine that. You can't unsee it. And the same could be said for Sonic and Sally. Now, true, like a lot of pairings in comics, there is no doubt. That it's basically, it's basically gone through situations to where you're like, why did they do this? Why did they do that? Why would they, break them up? What was the reasoning? Why are you having Sally, flirt with this guy? Why are you having Sonic flirt with this girl or date these people? What's going on? It's one of those things that, when you get down to it, for a lot of folks, it just didn't make any sense when you really think about it. It just did not make any any true sense in the long run. And I do apologize for any lag that might happen here. I'm on Twitter trying to do something here. But, it's just, it's just one of those situations to where, when you see these characters go through all these dramatics and everything, and it's like, well, why, it's like, why put them through this if you're just going to inevitably get them back together? And, that is a good question. That is a good question. Why would you put them through it if you're going to bring them back together? And for any writers of any kind, it's called drama. It's called drama. It's called interest. It's called intrigue. It's getting people to, pay attention to, what's happening in the book and maybe pick it up for the first time. That's basically what it is. And, it may not be the best decision to make overall. I will agree upon that. It may not be one of the best decisions overall to go in a direction of, hey, we're going to break this character up, or we're going to break this couple up because we want to create dramatic effect. We want to, get people to, wonder what's going to be next for the characters. And again, it's not always, the best idea because, a lot of fans are used to certain characters being, with each other. They're used to certain couples remaining with each other for a very long time. And the same is said for Sonic and Sally. Everybody is used to seeing them together for a long, long time. They're not used to seeing them get broken up in any kind of form, in any kind of way. They're not used to that. They're not used to it. Period, and they don't like seeing it. So when someone like Carl Bowlers or Ian Flynn, come out and do what they do to the characters, it's mainly the fact that even though they believe it's going to create dramatic effect, and at times it does, it's not always the best decision. Again, it's the same thing with, when people, the writers decide, hey, I'm going to break up Superman and Lois Lane, or I'm going to break up Spider-Man and Mary Jane. It's not the best decision that they can make. And hold on for a sec while I go do something. I gotta get a little bit of air in the house here. I had to close it because of some smoke that came around earlier. Alright, just adjusting the headset here, guys. Hold on. Yeah, but like I said, it's like one of those situations to where when the writer decides, hey, I'm gonna break up, Superman and Lois, or I'm gonna break up Spider-Man and MJ, even though they think, oh, it's a good idea and everything, it's a good idea, we should try it and da 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 stuff like that. Not everybody agrees with it. Not everybody's cool with it. Because fans are so used to the characters, being together. That just my headset here for a second. Hold on. Like I said, fans are so used to the characters being together that when these kind of decisions are made, it doesn't sit well with fans. It doesn't. So it's so honestly, when people like Ken Penders or Carl Bolos and Mike Perithro decide, hey, we're gonna break up Sonic and Sally, or we're gonna break up maybe Bunny and Rouge for no apparent reason. Not Bunny and Rouge, but Bunny and Antoine, I should say. For no apparent reason. For no apparent reason, we're just gonna break them up because we feel like it. Obviously that's a decision that doesn't sit well with fans. It doesn't, because fans. Here's the thing: they don't tune in to something. They don't, tune into a show or a comic or a movie to see, a certain pairing that's anonymous with that show, with that show, or with that comic, or with that movie, broken up. They're not used to it. So for the writers to come out and say, hey, we're going to do this, just because hey they feel like it, doesn't mean it's going to sit well with anybody in the end. It's not. It's not going to sit well with anybody in the end. And and again, like I said, that's how a lot of fans feel sometimes when they decide, or when a writer decides, hey, I'm gonna hold on. Can you guys hear me? Something just happened. I don't know what just happened there. Hold on.
Can
Can
you
you
guys
guys
hear
hear
me
me
now?
now?
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
what
what
just
just
happened. I
happened. I
hit
hit
something.
something.
Hold on, let
Let
me
me
check
check
something.
something.
Oh,
Oh,
something
something
came
came
loose
loose,
or
or
what?
what? Decide, or when a writer decides, hey, I'm gonna hold on. Can you guys hear me? Something just happened. I don't know what just happened there. Hold on. Can you guys hear me now? I don't know what just happened. I hit something. Hold on. Let me check something. Oh, something came loose. Oh, it was just an echo thing. It was just an echo thing, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, it was just an echo thing, guys. Hold on. Oh, it was just an echo thing. Yeah, it's just I pressed the button on there. Just an echo thing, guys. Sorry about that. It's just an echo thing. I don't know what just happened. Something always seems to happen when I do these audio podcasts. You know what I'm saying? These live streams. But anyway, though, like I said, um, the writer might think, "Oh, it's a good idea. We're going to do it and everything," and it doesn't sit well with fans. And when it came to Sonic and Sally, basically, it's the same thing. I mean, and Mike Peritto, Carl Bolos, Ken Penders, Ian Flynn would do it. You would just do it not sit well with fans because they're like, "What are you doing? Like why would you go and break these two off? It doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't make any sense to them. It wouldn't make any sense to anybody, really. It wouldn't make any sense because it's like, why do you? Because I think the one thing that annoys fans, honestly, and this is the truth. I think what annoys fans, honestly, um, is the fact that it seems that um, it doesn't matter like who the writer is, but they always seem to want to break up Sonic and Sally. They always want to try to do it, or they want to try to create some kind of drama. I mean, I get wanting to create drama, like I said. I think we all get that. We all get, oh, you want to create drama, that's not a problem. But it's it's like why constantly do it? I mean, you want to create friction, fine. You want to create that friction. You want to create that potential tease of a breakup and everything. That's fine. Go ahead and do it. But don't do it to an extent to where it's gonna. But don't do it to the point that it's actually going to happen because it upsets fans. Fans do not like what they see. You know, there's that old saying of you give the fans what they want and they won't complain. And guess what? That is indeed true. You give the fans what they want, they will not complain. You know, and this is why anytime you have a show or a comic that has a similar relationship, a romantic relationship between characters in it, this is why most of the time, you know, the writers, the creative staff behind the scenes, come back to that relationship. They always go back to it because they know that's what fans want to see. They know fans want to see that. Fans want to see the characters together. They want to, see, like I've used for an example before, Zach and Kelly in Saved by the Bell. They want to see Zach and Kelly together. They don't want to see Zach with somebody else. They don't want to see Kelly with somebody else. Even though it does happen, they always want to see those two back together. What does the writing staff do? The writing staff does decide, and I just lost my internet connection there. I do apologize. Sorry about that. My computer, my laptop decided to have a hiccup there. I do apologize. Let me double check here. They want to see Zach and Kelly together. They don't want to see Zach with somebody else. They don't want to see Kelly with somebody else. Even though it does happen, hold on for a second. They always want to see those two back together. What does the writing staff do? The writing staff does decide, and I just lost my internet connection there. I do apologize. Sorry about that. My computer, my laptop decided to have a hiccup there. Okay, everything's fine. No, mainly what happens is that sometimes my laptop, when it's loading stuff, or loading things, if you will, for like future updates, through the internet, it decides, oh, I'm gonna turn off the internet for a second because I gotta focus on this drive. I don't know if that's happened to any of you, but it loves to happen. But it seems to happen to me at times. But anyway, I know this live stream's going long, and I do apologize. But again, that's why I want that. But again, this is live. It's unscripted, and we're discussing the relationship. And I know I'm going into a lot here, but not really focusing on it. But again, like I said, when you have but when you have the writers, no matter who they are, deciding to, break them up at times, fans are not cool with it. Fans are not through with it. Like I said earlier, before that abrupt interruption there, we can understand. Okay, you want to create tension, you want to tease a potential breakup, that's fine, but don't go through with it because fans will not be fond of it. I mean, here's the thing. Anytime these two got back together, whether it was, 123 or 222 or the end of issue 50 or even issue 52 director's cut, anytime these two got back together, people were excited. People were happy. And apparently I have no data. I don't know what's going on there, but I have no data. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Hopefully, well, obviously you guys can still hear me, and I'm in excellent condition. Well, obviously I had no data there. That was weird. But like I said, you take a look at issues 123, 222. You take a look at the end of issue 50 and even the director's cut. You look at, I think, what was it, 73, 72, if you will. You take a look at all those issues. Well, actually 71. 71, actually. You take a look at all those moments in those issues between Sonic and Sally, and fans were excited. Fans were happy because this is the status quo they're used to seeing. You're used to seeing the status quo here. They're not used to seeing them broken up or anything unless it's a mutual separation with the agreement of, okay, when things are settled down, we'll try again. In story, in continuity, that would make sense. That would make sense if you had Sonic and Sally on, in a panel, in several panels, maybe several pages, agree that they're going to remain friends but the romance right now has to be put on standby because of what's going on. And then once things settle down, they could try again. That would have been more understanding and acceptable because hey, look, you know the characters are going to be back together. You know the characters are going to, be whole once again. They're just waiting until the right time to do so. They're just waiting for the right opportunity. But the thing is, we never ever saw that. A good example of how this relationship was handled was Sonic Sat AM. A lot of people, even those that I, linked this live stream to, like Sat AM historian Jacob, Jacob Berkeley. I think that's his last name. I do apologize if I pronounce it wrong. But the guy behind the complete guide to the history of Sonic, the complete history of Sonic Sat AM. Even that guy acknowledges that the relationship was done more properly in the cartoon than in the comics. And the reason it was done more properly in the cartoons than in the comics is because they built to the moment. They built to the moment. They hinted, that here's the thing, season 1 and season 2 showed that these two had feelings for each other that went beyond friendship. We saw that. There's no doubt about that. But what they did is they basically would build to the moment. They would build to that moment when it would happen. And basically, season 2 is when they used many moments to build to it. Used many moments to build to it. And when we got to the conclusion of the Doomsday Project episode, and Sonic once again wanted to go solo, Sally stopped him. Because when she said, once we connect the stones, Sonic's, a reaction to that is like, what do you mean we? And then she's like, I'm going to go with you. And Sonic's trying to say, no way, Sal, you're not. And then she basically silences him with putting her hand on his mouth by saying, we, and then emphasizing when she does that, when she puts her hand on his mouth, when he tries to say, no, basically he's trying to tell her, like previously, hey, I got to do this on my own. She puts her hand on his mouth and she says, very emphasizedly, she says, we are in this together, stating that her friendship with Sonic is now something more. That basically, what she's doing right now by saying we are in this together, she's saying, I'm in love with you, and I'm going to be with you to the end, no matter what. Which Sonic finally realizes, oh, now I understand. Now I get it. And that is what made this relationship so good. Because they worked off each other, and you had Sally be the one in Doomsday basically tell Sonic, you ain't doing this by yourself because I love you too much. I'm going to go with you. And I know you feel the same. And that was it. That was it. Period. Whether people want to admit it or not, that was it. That is one of the prime, if not one of the best examples of this relationship being, as beloved and popular as it is. Which again, really irritates a lot of fans when, they get broken up. Here's the thing. People could debate who to blame for what happened in 134. Carl Bowlers, Jonathan Gray, whoever. You can debate, to your heart's, content. To your heart's content, who is to blame for that moment. Either the way it was drawn, either the way it was written. You can blame whoever. You can even blame Mike Perithro, according to several sources, for that coming off the way it did. But the point is, that moment should have never been. Because a lot of people looked at that and they're like, that's not how Sally acts. That's not who Sally is. Sally, from what they understood, not just from the cartoon, but from the comic previously, before that issue, was a character that even through the toughest of times, most emotional, traumatizing, times, would be understanding and accepting. She would be understanding and accepting of the situation. She wouldn't be the kind that would try to hold Sonic back to rule by her side where her parents are out on a world tour, to, basically initialize peace between them and other kingdoms, the Overlanders, and all that. she wouldn't be that way. She'd be more along the lines of someone like, I understand, I get it. Maybe we need to hold off. And bringing that up, that goes back to what I said earlier. What I said earlier. This is a moment here that, like I said, didn't have to happen and could have been done more properly if, Sally, would have came out and said, look, I've been seeing, Dr. Quack for my mental stability because of what happened. And now that you're back, I'm still, all she had to do was basically say she was still getting, treatment for a mental stability now that even with Sonic back, and that maybe in her mind having him by her side would help help her mentality, even more so. But what she should have done, honestly, is be like, she should have been more understanding. Like, okay, I could still get the help I need by seeing Dr. Quack, but I understand that this is your job. You have to do this, and you are one, if not the only one, that could potentially take Eggman down. And there you go. It would have been easy. It would have been easier if they would have just talked it out and not had that moment. And a lot of people agree with that. A lot of people agree with that. And, here's the thing. It took, and I said this yesterday in the video when I talked about the fact that it's been 10 and a half years, a decade and a half, since the, issue 222 came out. I basically stated, in that issue, and hold on for a second while I check something. Just technically, though. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to see what my dog was doing. She needed more food in a bowl. But like I said, there could have been an easier way of doing that scene. But as I was saying, as I adjust the mic, make sure my mic is good. Okay. But as I was saying, basically, as I adjust it again, just adjusting the headset to adjust it. Okay. But, as I was saying, basically, long story short, it took Ian Flynn nearly 134 happened in 220. It took him nearly almost 90 issues, 88 issues to kind of fix all this. And whether you like Ian or you don't, whether you like Ian Flynn or you don't, like I said in the video yesterday, he took his time. He did it correctly. Excuse me. And a lot of people from Mega Beat Man to Crystal Maiden 77 to others that have reviewed 222 have all said that he took his time and throughout the hints and the moments, throughout the issues during his run, that this was going to happen. He points out, a lot of people point out the Bunny and Antoine wedding and the glances Sonic and Sally would give each other there, like basically thinking to themselves, this should have been them, like this should have been their moment. And then, of course, afterwards, the playfulness and the teasing, even after that, at the end of that 3-part 175 mini arc. And then, like I said, a little bit of playfulness and everything that came afterwards. And then, of course, Sally being like arm in arm with Sonic at the beginning of 201 to celebrate the defeat of Eggman. And then after that Iron Dominion situation, to where Sally had that brief romance with Monkey Kong, which again, as I said in the video yesterday, and I've emphasized time and time and time again, was nothing more than just another mini relationship meant for the story, that in context made Sally realize that, hey, guys like Monkey Kong are very similar to Sonic. They have similar mannerisms. Maybe there's still something there between me and Sonic, and I have to give it a go or give it a try. And that's what she does. And even after that, you get all these issues, like the issue with the wolf pack and everything, and the emerald that they had there, and how you had Sonic and Sally holding hands after he kind of saved her. It's like, come on. Ian knew what he was doing. He knew by putting in these moments in, in the issues that followed the Iron Dominion, and even previously before the Iron Dominion and stuff like that. He knew what he was doing, but he also knew that he had to take his time, because he knew there would be. He probably knew. This is the truth. This is my opinion and the possible truth. He knew that there may not be a lot of fans that would be accepting of it. Like, they wouldn't be too cool with seeing Sonic be with somebody else. And, that is indeed true. That is indeed true. He may not be, accepting of being with somebody, with Sonic being, or they may not be, I should say, accepting of Sonic being with somebody else that, let's say, as I mentioned earlier, is not Amy Rose, is not Blaze the Cat, or whoever. So, he took his time. He wanted to show people and remind people why these two worked so well together, why they balanced each other out so well. Now, here's the thing, though. Even though he did accomplish what a lot of us wanted to see done, unfortunately, it didn't last forever. All it lasted for was the end of 222. Throughout, basically issue 222, officially with them being boyfriend and girlfriend again. All it lasted was, from that moment, officially, from 222, 223, 224, 225, hints of it kind of in 226, even though it was like a reboot and the memories got erased until they got restored and everything at the end. There's no attempt, and my internet just went out again. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why it did that. Hopefully you guys can hear me again. Sorry. The internet did that again. My computer is loading again. Like I said, it does that. It knocks the internet out. It's like it's saying, wait. Internet, we got to go off for a second. And the internet's going like, why? And the internet just freezes like, and they're like, update. Okay, you can go back on now. That's basically what it is. It's like they freeze it, they stop it, they go update. Okay, now you come back on. It's whatever, right? It's like you can't win. You know what I'm saying? You can't win. But anyway, hopefully you guys can hear me. But like I said, it took him nearly 90 issues to get back to this. But unfortunately, after that, it didn't last too long, because it only lasted from 222, 23, 24, 25, kind of teased a little bit in the Sonic Genesis deal from 26 to 29, because the memories got, wiped and then restored at the end, as I was trying to say. And then, of course, you have issue 230, and then that's it. That was it. Because what happens afterwards? We go through the Mecha Sally arc, which, again, is one of the more controversial, despised story arcs out there, decisions that were ever made out there, as far as the Sonic comic is concerned. And then you get into the soft retcon and reboot with 252, and then, from there, 53, 54, 55, 56. And there's no acknowledgement or mentioning or anything of these two being an item anymore. I mean, even when Sonic, with tears in his eyes, is happy to see her and he's hugging her, even she has to push him off a little bit, like, hey, what's wrong with you? What got into you? Like, she doesn't understand. Like, she doesn't remember until she gets her memory restored. But even after her memory is restored, even after her memory is restored, and I got no data again here. Now I'm exiting condition. I don't know what's going on anymore. But anyway, with YouTube and the internet. But anyway, like I was saying, even she's wondering like what's going on and everything because she's not sure why he's acting the way he's doing, being so glad to see her because she's not aware of the world until she gets her memory restored, and then that's when it hits her. But here's the thing: even with her memory restored, and she sees the moments, even between her and Sonic, it's like they don't build upon that. They don't decide, hey, we're going to continue the relationship between these two, and that's it. No, instead, what they do is they tease something between Sally and Nicole. They decide, basically, we're going to make Sally bisexual and have a lean more towards in favoritism of being lesbian with, being in a lesbian relationship with Nicole than being in with something with Sonic. Even Ian Flynn has come out and said that the way it was blatantly showcased and everything, that he and Aaliyah were surprised that they got away with it. And, that's it. That is it. I mean, we're not sure whether or not, they were planning to possibly, put those two together once again, being Sonic and Sally in the comic, had the comic continued in some kind of shape, form, or fashion. We're not really sure. But basically, we didn't get no indication. I mean, we had moments where Sonic would carry her and everything, and maybe there was a tease here and there, a flirtatious tease, whatever you want to call it, here and there, but we never saw anything else. It was mostly the fact that, Ian Flynn, basically he had enough. He had enough, of this whole romance shipping kind of situation. And like I said in a previous video, I think honestly, had had people not debated so much, as to who Sonic should be with, who Sally should be with, who this character should be with, and all that, I don't think Ian Flynn would have been against, continuing the relationship. But I think he just got so fed up with it that people in his mind were losing focus as to what the comic was about that he knew he had probably no other choice in his opinion, or from his point of view. Um, but, here's the thing. You could always work it in there. And like I said, had the comic not been canceled and the partnership not ended between Sega and Archie, I should say, who's to say we wouldn't have gotten that relationship restored? I mean, we know that honestly, there was a lot of things that were teased for potentially happening, in the Archie book that, in a way, made that in a sense, or ironically, in a sense, made the way into the IDW book, like the metal virus and all that. We knew that was teased to in a way. There were moments towards the end that it was teased that potentially was going to be the next arc, but because the comic was canceled, it made its way into the IDW book. So so there was that, and then on top of that, if you will, there was talk, or not talk, but on top of that, you also had characters like Tangle and Whisper, and who's to say that potentially maybe they wouldn't have made their way into the Archie book had it not been canceled. I mean, we got a freaking Sonic Forces adaptation or aftermath. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we basically got ourselves, a comic book in the IDW comic that basically serves as an aftermath to Sonic Forces. So, and we, in a way, through the IDW books, we had a Sonic Forces adaptation. So, who's to say the Sonic Forces wouldn't have been another adaptation put into the Archie books, which, from an Archie perspective, would have introduced us to Tangle, Whisper, and then eventually other characters like Sterling and Bell and all that. Who's to say that wouldn't have happened had the book not been canceled? Because honestly, I think it would have been. I think it would have been. I think all these elements we saw appear in IDW, all these characters that debuted in IDW, I think honestly they were planned for the Archie book had it not been canceled. So they just migrated away over to IDW. And again, I bring this up because had the book continued, who's to say Ian Flynn maybe have not, or at least maybe someone like a Leah Baker or even a Van Stanley wouldn't have said, hey, I want to put Sonic and Sally back together and I want to build to that moment. Who's to say they wouldn't have done it? Because I think maybe there's a good chance they would have. Because again, you look at all the comics in other media, like Superman, Spider-Man. Those are two prolifical comics that people identify for the main couples involved. Superman and Lois, Spider-Man and MJ. And you have one comic without, and here's the thing. A lot of fans look at the fact that you can't have, and there goes my internet again. I do apologize again for that. My internet just conked out again because my computer's loading stuff. Apparently, it's getting ready for a major update. I don't know if that update is going to involve the Windows 11 update. I understand they're trying to gradually roll that out, so we'll see what happens. But again, I do apologize for that. It just, does that lately, and there it goes again. I do apologize. And I do apologize for that. Apparently, it's somebody's interfering or something like that. I don't know what's going on. But apparently I'm getting some interference here. I do apologize for that. It's either interference or my computer's just loading something. So I do apologize for any interruptions. But like I said, basically, like I said, I don't. What I was trying to say is, this talk of Windows 11 being rolled out soon, but it's going to be gradual. So in other words, they're going to take their time with it. And I don't know if it's going to be, mine's going to be one of the computers that gets it right away, or it's going to take its time, or mine's going to be one of those computers that gets it down the line. But anyway, what I was trying to say, basically, is you cannot, picture one comic without, the other, without, you can't, what I'm trying to say is, you can't picture one couple in a comic, without that comic's, without some kind of legit reasoning. In other words, you can't picture one without the other kind of deal. You can't picture the couple without the comic, and the comic without the couple, or the TV show or movie without the couple, and the couple without that. You get what I'm saying? So basically, when anytime a writer decides, hey, I'm gonna break up Superman and Lois, I'm gonna break up Spider-Man and MJ, and they try to put them with other people, it might be fine for a bit, but in the end, folks are going to be like, you need to put Superman and Lois together, back together. You need to put Spider-Man and MJ back together, and that's it. That is it. That's always the thing. And again, going back to my Saved by the Bell example, a lot of people have said that you can put Zach Morris and Kelly Kapowski with different people all you want. You can break them up, friendly breakup, or whatever situation that the story calls for. You can do all that, but eventually you got to put those two back together, and that's what happens. And that's eventually what happens, and it did, and it did. And that's the thing with Sonic and Sally. The reason they are so popular, in the eyes of a lot of fans, is because of the fact that you cannot picture the Sonic comic when it was under the Archie license. You can't picture the Sonic Saturday cartoon or anything without them being there, and showing some kind of affection towards each other, acknowledging the romance between the two. You just can't. You just can't have that. And to me, that is why what I'm trying to say is, let me get some coffee here for a second. But that is why, to me, basically, you always end up having these two end up together. I mean, I go back to, like I said, 123. That was a moment we've all been waiting for. One of the major moments. Now, I want to correct something that Ian Flynn put down in 222. at the end of the main story, when they're getting all cozy and comfortable and cuddly with each other at the um, at the Chell Garden, you you have them being playfully you have them doing play you have them giving off playful banter towards each other as well as flirting, and you basically have Sally point out that Sonic. Basically, you have Sally pointing out to Sonic the fact when it came to Ken Con, Monkey Con, and even Jeffrey. You have her finally getting Sonic to, in a way, admit, see, you were jealous. You were jealous. And then Sonic has to counteract that by saying, well, you were jealous of Mina, and at that time, we didn't have anything going on. Correction. Correcto. Correction. Correcto un mundo, if you will. Because here's the thing, Ian. They did. I mean, if you're taking over for the book, then you should have known that they still had a relationship going on, even after Sonic and Tails came back from the world tour. They still had something going on. The only reason, and I'll be right back. That's my mom calling. I'll be right back. Oh no, it's not her. Who the heck is this? Sorry about that. That wasn't her calling. That was some kind of wrong number, it looked like. But anyway, like I was saying, what I was trying to say is I want to correct something to Ian. All right. He had Sonic basically as adjust the headset here. But he had Sonic basically say something along the lines of, him and Sally didn't have anything going on when she got jealous of Mina. Correcto un mundo. Correction un mundo. You see, they did. You see, even when, what I was trying to say is when Sonic came back from his world tour with Tails to chase off, to find Naugus, if you will, basically find and capture Naugus, she was happy to see them. She was happy in a way that obviously that implied there was more than just friendship, or more than, she was just happy to see her friend again. The way she reacted, yeah, that was more than just one my boyfriend back kind of embrace, or the one I really care about, more than just as a friend back embrace. That was it. That's what it was. And here's the thing. The reason it seemed like they didn't have anything going on. Okay, let me kind of correct something on this. The reason it didn't seem like they had anything going on wasn't because Mina became infatuated with Sonic, as at the same time she discovered she had Mongoose super speed and thought, oh, I have speed, he has speed, we're perfect for each other, right? The other reason, as I mentioned in the video yesterday, that they didn't seem like they had anything going on, but they did, was due to the fact that when Carl Bowlers or Mike Perithro, whoever it was, maybe both, decided to go with the high school error kind of thing, the high school error story arc, mini arc, whatever you want to call it, where they had the freedom fighters go back to school and try to live normal lives and leave the fighting against the Eggman Empire again, to groups like the Secret Service and the Knights and the King and all that. Basically, the reason it seemed like they didn't have anything going on was because Sally was, being taught privately at the castle. She was being tutored and taught at the castle instead of being with her friends at school, like everyone from Sonic to Bunny to Rotor and Tails all thought she would be, but she wasn't. Now, at first, as I mentioned in the video yesterday, at first, it seemed like Elias, who was filling in temporarily for his dad because his dad had gotten injured, he'd basically gotten injured in battle and all that. you know, at first it seemed like Elias was the one that had made the decision to have, his sister be tutored at the castle alone. Basically, instead of going to school with her friends, it seemed like Elias was the one that decided, okay, Sally, you're my sister, you're royalty, you're going to learn on your own, you're going to have your own lessons and all that. Even though it seemed like it came off like that, as we find out later on in issues that would follow, it was not actually Elias's idea. It was Jeffrey St. John's idea because Elias needed someone he thought he could confide in. Thought he needed someone that, like I said, he thought he could confide in. He could, trust and everything. And it turned out that that wasn't the case, and all Jeffrey was really in for it for, was himself, because here's the thing: even during this time, which was around 94, building up to issue 100, even around this time, the storyline was that Jeffrey felt that he was better than Sonic. He was more heroic than Sonic. He was more eligible to be the hero than Sonic. And by being an advisor to Elias, he pretty much figured, I have an opportunity to make myself and even my own team look better than Sonic and the Freedom Fighters. And, wait a minute. The princess is here. These guys are going back to school. They're going to expect her to be with her. I got an idea. I advise him to keep his sister at home and have her tutored and taught here. That makes it easier for me to look not just better in the eyes of the royal family, but it also gives me a better chance, a stronger chance, to end up with Sally finally. And that's it. That's how a lot of us that's how a lot of us viewed it as being, showcased and being played as. Played off as, basically. Showcased, played off as, whatever you want to call it. That basically Elias wasn't the one that made the call for not just the freedom fighters to go back to school and all that, and Sally to be taught lessons at the castle by herself instead of being with her friends. We find out it was Jeffrey St. John because once again he wanted to prove himself better than Sonic. He wanted to prove himself to be more heroic than Sonic, more of the main guy that the world of Mobius can depend on. And at the same time, basically you could tell that he wanted to have Sally to himself again. Like, this was basically his last opportunity to be like, Sally, now that I have you alone, I want to tell you I love you, girl, and I want to be with you, and this is why I did all this for you. That's Now, I'm not saying that's probably what would have happened in future stories, mind you. I'm not saying that's not what would have happened, but the way it was coming off, in the in the eyes of the reader and the fans, that's exactly how it seemed to be. Being that's exactly what I'm trying to say. How it was being panned out to be like. That basically all Jeffrey was doing was trying to make himself look good in the eyes of the royal family by advising Elias to do this, to do that, to run the kingdom, not the way Elias or the royal family felt it should be run, but the way Jeffrey felt it should be run. And in his mind, he probably thought, again, in story, that it would make him look not only good in front of the royal family, but when the opportunity comes, he could go to the king once maybe Max is, back to normal, and maybe ask the king for his daughter's hand in marriage, or to be her new royal consort, basically her new fiance. But thankfully that didn't happen. But the reason I bring all this up and go into a lot of detail about it, if you will, is the fact that honestly, this is where Ian kind of made a mistake. You see, because they did have something going on. When Sally was getting her stuff ready for school, thinking maybe this along the same lines as her friends that, oh, I'm going to be with them in school, and then finding out, how she was going to be taught. She opens up, I think, what is it, a binder or something like the journal, and she sees a picture of a picture of her and of herself and her friends that was taken of them together, and her lines is, "Oh my Sonic," kind of deal. And it's like, come on, seriously. What what character in a regular friendship says, "Oh my Sonic"? Nobody. That that saying right there is of someone that is the girlfriend of someone else. And in this case, Sally, the girlfriend of Sonic. So to correct Ian on that, even though it's 10 years ago that this story came out, 222 that is, to correct Ian on that little mistake, yes, Sonic and Sally was still an item. And the reason Sally was jealous was because she thought Sonic, had, because they weren't in school together, had moved on from her and moved on to somebody else. And that wasn't the case. Even though it was teased several times afterwards that Sonic might consider Mina, but that didn't happen. Instead, Mina ended up with Ash, thank the Lord. But then, and my thumb just hit the mic there. I do apologize. And then, if you consider Mobius years later, 25 to 30 years later, as canon, Mina that is, ended up with Tails. Which I guess makes sense when you consider that they were racing each other at the beginning of one issue very playfully. Like, it's almost like basically you're looking at that moment where they're racing each other playfully and you're like, are they teasing something? Are they trying to insinuate something may happen in the future? And guess what? If you, like I said, if you consider it canon to an extent, that's exactly what happens. But anyway, though, like I said, to correct Ian on that little snafu he made in that in that line he wrote for Sonic at the end of 222's main story. Yeah, they did have something going on. It's just the fact that the way it was arranged didn't really help matters. And that's why basically when we got to 123, it was more satisfying. It was more satisfying. It was more welcoming because of the fact that it was a moment we wanted to see, happen for a while. We wanted to see these characters reunited because we knew nothing had nothing had really changed. That despite all the teasing you can do, despite all the, like I said, despite all the teasing you can do, despite all the, you know, um, moments you could throw in here and there to make it look like something else is going on, you always, as a fan, you always knew that despite all these things all these teases and moments thrown in there, and I just almost had a brain fart there thinking about what I was going to say, almost lost track there. Uh, you knew basically that these two were going to end up together, and 123, was that moment. It gave off that moment. Now, I'm going to say this: Ken and Carl afterwards. I'm going to put it this way: whoever did the dialogue, whether it was Ken or Carl, from 124 to 125. I'm going to put it this way: yes, we were happy to see them back together on 123. I'm not denying that. We were happy, as fans. But seriously, I mean, I get the fact that the comic, like as I've said before recently, the comic was, the writers behind it were trying to grow the comic up with its fan base, so that's understandable. But come on, seriously, giving dialogue the way you did to Sally and Sonic during certain moments, that didn't help anything. That didn't really help. All right. I mean, you put them together as an item, that's great, no problem, thumbs up. But putting them the way you did, with the dialogue at times. And then on top of that, the following issue, you have Sally basically, along with Sonic, get the blessing from her parents of, okay, you and Sonic are now fiancés. That he is now her royal consort, her fiance, and I'll be right back. That's my mom. Hello? There was a fire near Jensen and Big Lane. Yeah, it was a residential structure. You know, it's so bad I had to, when I went to go see what it was out in the backyard, I had to put a mask on. Yeah, you can smell it. Yeah, I closed everything. It's cleared up now, so I've opened everything up. No, it's fine, Mom. It's okay now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just slightly. Just the back door, the one above the kitchen, the one in the guest room, and my room. No, it's not that. It's not smoky anymore. Yeah, it's windy, but it's gone now. The smoke's gone now. Not too bad. It's 78 in the house. No, it's fine, Mom. I know. I know. I had to pick up one of your plants anyway. Just one. I showed you what it was in the video. The green one, the lime green pot. The lime green pot on the right side. Yeah. The lime green one is that. It's okay, Mom. I know. I haven't checked yet. No. All right. Okay. All right. Nothing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, it's usually around the time she calls me and all that. But now, what was I? What was I? Oh yeah, Royal Consort. Oh yeah, the the Royal Consort deal. Look, I don't think they should have. Honestly, I don't think they should have done that. The Royal Consort deal. Um, basically, what it. Again, like I said, let me kind of recap here. Okay, there we go. Anyway, I understand. I understand wanting to, I understand basically you know, I wanted to emphasize that they were together, but like I said, whoever's in charge of the dialogue and everything, and now suddenly things are popping up. But like I said, whoever's in charge of the dialogue, basically, um, when it came to the character Sonic and Sally, it's like, yeah, it was great to have them back, thumbs up and everything in 123. But seriously, it's like, did you have to give them that dialogue? Did you have to go the excuse me? Did you have to go to the engagement route? Did you have to do that? Because it just did not make sense. Honestly, it just did not make sense. I mean, I get that you want to emphasize that these two are together, and that's fine. I understand that, but I think you might have gone a little too far with it. Because honestly, this is the kind of dialogue that really turned off a lot of fans. It really did. But and then going the royal consort route, the making getting the blessing from the royal family to be engaged, if you will. It's like, yeah, I'm surprised Sega didn't step in and be like, "You're doing what? How?" It just, I don't know. It just didn't make any sense. It just didn't really make any sense. I mean, again, I'm glad that they wanted to kind of emphasize. I mean, well, not well, yeah. I'm glad, along with everybody else, that they wanted to emphasize Sonic and Sally's relationship with each other and how strong that relationship is. I understand that. I get that. You know, no doubt about it. I get that, and so does the rest of so does the rest of us. We get that. We understand that. But it's like, seriously, you're going to go as far as to really emphasize how lovey-dovey they are towards each other by going the engagement route. It's like, okay, fine, fine. It's not a problem. But then what do you do? What do you do with that? You decide, okay, not only are we going to traumatize Sally and along with everybody else on the planet, making them think that Sonic's dead after, blowing up and sacrificing himself to destroy this, what is this, quantum dial by the Zorda. Not only, not only do you have everybody get traumatized, like Sally, thinking he's dead, then have him come back, have her basically lie to his face, like, "Oh, I knew you were always going to come back." When in storyline, you obviously make it, obvious to a lot of fans that she didn't, and then you go the route with 134, and it's like, you could have easily avoided this. One, you could have easily avoided it by not having the engagement happen yet, by having an understanding between them in 134, and that's it. That's fine. But it's like, seriously, this couple honestly could not catch a break, or could not catch a break in the comics. They couldn't. I mean, the only time they ever caught a break, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, was in the cartoon, because it structured the relationship better. It structured it a lot better than what we were given. It structured it so much better that, like I said earlier, when they got to Sally, basically finally, in her own way, telling Sonic that you mean more to me than just as a friend, by finally convincing him to let her go with him to finally put an end to the Doomsday Project with the Power Stones. It's like, seriously, you take notes. It's like, take some notes, if you will. To me, because to me, if they would have taken notes from that, which I'm sure they did at first, but if they would have kept those notes on hand, things would have been a lot better. They would have. And the only one, believe it or not, out of all those writers that basically understood that was Ian. Which is why when he did what he did to get to 222, everybody accepted it, because he was building it back up, and he was building it up in a way to where when it finally happened, people understood exactly why these two were meant for each other. Why they were meant for each other, and why the relationship worked. In previous outings. I just have an itch there on my ear for a second. But why it worked in previous outings. And you know, here's what's funny. Let's talk about 222 for a moment, okay? Let's talk about 222. A lot of people like myself, just like with 123 and the end of 50, director's cut as well. And the moment we got in 70, what was it, 71, 70? Here's the thing. Okay? Basically, long story short, 222, like I said, is one of those take a break from the chaos like issues. Check the characters out in a daily, daily life kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? A daily, basically a daily in the life kind of scenario. Just check the characters out in a daily in the life kind of scenario. And a lot of people have pointed out that some of the moments that happened in there, even though they were cute and adorable and made sense, especially when it came to Sonic and Sally, that some of the other moments just didn't. It's like, why would Monkey Kong, Ken Kong, who Sally just had a previous fling with, however, as I've mentioned before, it's the kind of fling that we've seen in things like Saved by the Bell, like the Saved by the Bell Hawaiian style movie, and the Summer Job episodes as well, where Zach gets together with this girl just for the story, or the story arc, and then that's it. We don't hear anything more about them after that. The same is said here. The same is utilized here. Basically, the fling with Monkey Kong was just for the story, and that's it. That was it. Nothing more. And it also helped Sally in story realize that it didn't matter who she tried to move on with, that there was always going to be a similarity to Sonic because of maybe personality, maybe personality, mentality, who knew? But basically, the thing is with Sal, um, with her going to talk to Monkey Kong about the whole, situation about her being on the date with Sonic, giving him a second chance kind of deal. There are some people like, there are some people that are like, that's, well, here's what I'm trying to say. There are some people that were cool with that because that showed a lot of, full development and maturity, out of Monkey Kong, basically showing that he's come a long way. That, even though he still has a thing for Sally, that he's willing to accept that, hey, if she wants to give Sonic a second chance or another chance, another opportunity, he's all for it. He's all supportive of it. That's fine. That is fine. That's good. But there are some people that look at that and be like, seriously? Why would Monkey Kong be, cool with this? Why can't he just be like, Sal, you sure you want to go through with this? I mean, you and I, we could still be an item and you have a way to go back and forth. I'm just saying, you know, that's how people viewed it. And it's like, yeah, that is a good point. But if you want to show that the characters can evolve beyond what they were originally saddled with when they appeared or debuted, then the best way to do that is to show how far they've come in a maturity like setting by having them accept the fact that one is happy being with the other and they should be happy and supportive of that. And that's how you had Monkey, and that's how a lot of people saw Monkey Kong, Ken Kong, come off here in the story. That he was very understanding, very mature about it, and very supporting of it. And the same for Amy Rose. Some people say that Amy Rose could not be this way. That Amy Rose would not be understanding and willing to accept Sonic being with Sally. And that her excuse of, well, if being with Sally makes him happy, that's all that matters to me. They feel that that's not Amy Rose. And again, they have a right to their opinion, based on the way she was written or developed and all that, not just in the comics, but in games and all that. But here's the thing. If you want to show how far a character has come, in the maturity, in the overall development, not just in the games and all that, but in the comic itself, where they get a lot more spotlight than they do in a game or even an anime series. If you want to show how far they've come from a maturity standpoint and a character developing standpoint, having them accept the fact that the person they want to be with is happy being with another friend of theirs, and they're cool with that because that's all they want is the happiness for the person they really care for, then that's maturity, then that's basically showing maturity one on one. or 101. That's basically, let me get some coffee here. But what I'm saying is that's showing maturity 101. That's it. That is showing maturity 101. Because, true, Amy could have easily been like, okay, I've held off the crowd. Now I'm going to keep following time. Because I will admit this. I will admit this. Amy coming out of nowhere to basically back the crowd off of Sonic and Sally so Sonic and Sally can enjoy the rest of their evening. Yeah, I'll admit, her coming out of nowhere did seem a little weird. And some people have suspected that to play into who her character is, she might have been stalking Sonic and Sally. Like, okay, if it didn't work, she could jump in, and take the opportunity to be with Sonic. Like, if something went awry and it just didn't work, and Sally went back to the castle, Amy, by kind of hiding and sneaking and following, can jump out of nowhere and say, "Hey, Sonic, you want some company tonight? I'll take you to Uncle Chuck's. We can have chili dog." Now, and again, I'll admit that does play into her character, but we didn't see that here. We didn't see that. And the fact that she's willing to accept Sonic being happy, with Sally, being with Sally, as a way that, as a way that showcases how she feels about Sonic, that she loves him to an extent that if being with someone like Sally makes him happy, in a way, it makes her happy. That's all that matters. Now, again, like I said, I'll admit it's kind of weird that she just popped out of nowhere, but we can we can make every assumption in the book as to how she suddenly just appeared. We can assume, like I said, that, and other people have said, that she was following them. She was sneaking around, kind of spying on them, waiting for the opportunity to, waiting for the opportunity to jump at a chance to, maybe if things didn't work out, you know, take the spot of Sally to be with Sonic. We can assume that. But then again, we can assume maybe she was out and about just enjoying the evening, maybe going over to Uncle Chuck's to get something to drink and everything, and then she saw what was happening and jumped in to intervene to allow Sonic and Sally to enjoy their date. We can assume that too. But whatever the case may be, what she says, in these few panels, if you will, of issue 222 is a great show of maturity. There is no doubt. And yes, she does still have the belief that right now, even though Sonic wants to be with Sally, she still has the belief in, this issue, in that last panel, that, yeah, Sonic will be hers one day because, as Mega Beatman puts it, she believes still that Sonic will see the light. That even though, being in a relationship with Sally makes him happy and that's all she cares about, that she feels and believes, basically, that he will be with her someday, that this will be just a short-term deal, and that when opportunity arises, it'll be her turn. Well, unfortunately, again, as I said earlier, whether you count it as true continuity or not, as far as Mobius years later is concerned, yeah, that's not the case. Although they do insinuate that Amy ended up with Vector, believe it or not. I know, it sounds weird, but that's what they assume. But again, there are some people that are like, that's not how Amy would be. And again, like I said, they have a right to their opinion. But if you want to show how far a character has come in a development kind of way, character developmental way, this is one way of doing it. This is one way of doing it, and I'm glad they did it this way. I and many others are glad they did it this way because of the fact that, you know, it shows that even a character like Amy is willing to accept the fact that, hey, if Sonic, being with Sally makes him happy, then that's all that matters to her. That's all that matters to her. So, because that's the one thing about relationships. If you truly care about somebody and something makes them, being with someone or doing something makes them happy, and that's all you care about is their happiness, then that's all that matters. And this was a side of Amy Rose that really showed maturity, that if being with, Sally makes Sonic happy, and his happiness is one of the main things that makes, that she cares about and makes her happy in the long run, then that's all that matters. the point is, you could, the point is you can review this issue 222 and any other stories that came before it or after it. And you could look at moments like with Amy and Ken Con, Monkey Con, and say that's not possible. Why would they accept that? You know, and you have a, as I've said, you have a right to your opinion. You have a right to your opinion to feel that way. But in the end, as far as the story context is concerned, it makes sense for these characters to be to willingly accept the idea that Sonic and Sally probably are destined to be together. That that yeah, they can have their moments with them. They can have the little mini dates and get-togethers and all that, and that's fine. But in the end, there's always going to be that feeling that okay, this person is meant to be with that person, and vice versa, and all that. I mean, I can tell you honestly, there was several times in high school that I felt that I was going to be with somebody, and then I found out, okay, maybe being with this person it makes them happy. That's fine with me because it makes me happy. And I didn't go any further than that. I didn't go any further than that. So, in the end, in the end, it's just one of those kind of it's just one of those kind of scenarios to where no matter how you feel about the relationship or how certain characters are portrayed in support of the relationship in story, it's just one of those that no matter how you look at it, is always going to be a part of Sonic lore or part of the Sonic franchise historically. Historically, it's always going to be part of the franchise. I mean, yes, there have been moments where, as I said, they've tried to pair Sonic and Sally off with other characters. There's no doubt. Sally and Jeffrey St. John is a good example. And like I said, and like I mentioned earlier, Jeffrey in context, when you really look at it, during that high school experiment arc that they were doing, obviously you could tell in story he was the one behind all the suggestions, is all the not suggestions, but he was behind all the decisions that Elias was making, including having Sally be tutored, educationally from at the castle instead of being with her friend. And the reason, obviously, for that was because not only did he want to make himself look good in the eyes of the royal family, make himself look more of a hero than Sonic could ever be, but also it was another, maybe one last attempt to try to win Sally. And even if he had to basically get the okay from the king to be her consort, be her, potential future husband or whatever the case may be, basically making these decisions through Elias, he saw an opportunity. But thankfully, like I said earlier, it didn't have nothing came of it. Instead, he ended up with Hershey, which a lot of fans pretty much felt is a better option and knew was going to be a better option when it would happen, and when it did, people were happy about that. But yeah, putting Sally with Jeffrey, fans didn't like it because they're like, where did this come from? And it just didn't make sense for them, or make sense from what they could tell. And then, of course, you had Sonic being with other characters like Fiona, Mina, to an extent, Bunny, but not much. You know, so, and I'm not counting the whole, anti-Sonic disguised as Sonic deal. Uh, but when you really think about it, you could put these characters, with different potential romantic love interests, and in the end, it doesn't really matter because fans are always going to know that you do that, eventually you're going to have to go back to the status quo, which is Sonic and Sally, and that's it. So, no matter how you look at it, like I said, you could put them with different characters, that's fine. But eventually, in story, they're going to end up back together. I mean, and here's what's crazy, and here's what's crazy. I know Penders worked on Endgame, and I know he worked on a lot of stories afterwards. And here's what's crazy, though. Even though Endgame pretty much established that Sonic and Sally were an item, he still wrote and, in a sense, drew Jeffrey St. John kissing Sally or trying to flirt with Sally right in front of him, right in front of Sonic, or right in front of Sonic's friends, and the friends being like, "Yeah, that's not going to sit well with Sonic." So he still did that. Thankfully, there was a moment where Sonic, I think it was the Brave New World, Super Special number 2, where Sonic just had enough, and it's like, he just finally fought the guy a little bit, just tussled around, because, he's trying to basically move in on his girl, and he didn't like that. Until finally they were able to be settled down, and they made peace. But I think basically to that little scuffle they had, in story and context, Jeffrey kind of understood, okay, if I'm going to, kind of be sweet talking Sally, kind of flirt with her a little bit, maybe, kiss her a little bit, I can't do it in front of Sonic or anybody else because it's going to get, it's like I can't do it in front of Sonic or I can't do it in front of his friends because he's going to get back to him, kind of deal. And the same could be, with Mina. I mean, going back to the high school experiment deal, a lot of people pointed out how, and like I mentioned earlier, somebody, well, not earlier, but as I mentioned in a previous video, somebody did a Sonicgram letter, wrote a letter to the Sonicgrams asking why Bunny acted so coldly towards Mina by going, instead of being like, oh, howdy, Mina, nice to meet you, and all that. Instead, she's like, howdy. Like very like cold like. It's because Bunny, just like, she saw with, Jeffrey, doing what he's, kissing Sally or flirting with Sally at times. Bunny knew Sonic was Sally's gal, her BFF, not gal, but Bunny knew that Sonic was Sally's guy, and that she could tell, that she could tell Mina was trying to move in on that. And that's why she treated her the way she did. The same way, not identical, but the same way a lot of the characters saw, Jeffrey doing what he was doing with Sally. It's like, what should be? It's like, come on, seriously, what's the deal? It's like, why are you trying to, or why is this guy doing this? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't he know Sally is Sonic's gal, and and all that? So again, it's again, it's not the first time these kind of things have happened. To where a character can see and sense that something just doesn't seem right. It just doesn't. They can see and sense that not only does something not seem right, but they can see and sense someone trying to move in on somebody else's love, if you know what I mean. But the thing is, it's again, to me, it just blows my mind that Ken would do that. Thankfully, he didn't do it much after that. But it's like, seriously, Ken, I get you want to, like Carl and E, and to like Carl and Mike and even Ian to an extent. You want to create some drama, but this is not the way you're doing it. If you catch my drift, it's not the way of doing it, because all you're doing is causing more tension and more debate and more, disdain, if you will, with the fans, because you're doing things you shouldn't be doing with the characters. But overall, the general consensus is this: no matter how you write the characters, no matter how up and down you make the relationship, no matter how controversial you make things, no matter how lovey-dovey you make things, no matter how comedic or dramatic you make things, that in the end, you're always going to end up having Sonic and Sally back together. It's just a normal. It's just basically, it was just a normal. It's not today, and not to this day. It is basically. I don't know. Right, what just happened there? It's just that I had no data. Stream went slowly, but like I said, it's just one of those scenarios that, even to this day, fans still draw Sonic and Sally together. Fans will look at, basically panels or screenshots from Sonic X, and they will put Sally in Amy's place or Sally in Rouge's place, or they will draw their own version of Sonic X called Sonic X HD and put Sally in there. Or, when it comes to the IDW books, they'll take someone like Tangle out or Blaze out, or even Amy out, and they'll put Sally in the place. You get what I'm saying? All because they support Sonic and Sally. So again, the general consensus is that no matter what you do, no matter how dramatic you make things, comedic you make things, up and down you make the relationship, they always end up back together. Again, same thing when you look at couples in other comics like Superman and Lois, Spider-Man and MJ. It's always the same thing. You can make the relationship rocky and all that, do this and that, do this and that, but the consensus is they always end up together. That's the natural agreement and consensus that they're always going to find a way back together, whether fans support it or they don't. So, in closing, guys, I just wanted to come on here and talk about the Sonic and Sally relationship, and just really get a lot off my chest when it comes to it. I know there was some interruptions and all that throughout the stream. I do apologize for that. But again, I just wanted to take this time and let you know how I feel about it still. I mean, I'm still a fan. I'm still a supporter. I mean, long story short, when 123 came out, I was still living in Kansas. I was still living on my own. I was happy. I was rolling around on my, floor a little bit out of excitement for the fact that they were back together. Because I felt like anybody else that they should have never even insinuated the fact that they were broken apart. And again, to correct Ian Flynn, they never were, broken up. They never basically. And I have Trans Fan here. Thank you for joining me, Trans Fan. And he says, I thought that the super special, it was fun. Okay, he thought basically in Brave New World, Sonic hitting Jeffrey was very funny. In a way, it was, but again, it's one of those things that I just mentioned to where basically, Sonic just finally saw what everybody else was saying. It was like, enough. He's like, stop moving in on my girl because we're an item now. You had your chance. So, yeah, it was one of those. So, yeah, it was a funny moment. There's no doubt. But again, like I said, you could, put them all through all these different scenarios. The consensus, they always end up back together. And, that's about it. But like I said, I just wanted to come on here and, give you my thoughts on all this. And like I said, I'm still a Sonic and Sally fan, supporter. As I was trying to say, I've been a fan for so long that, I love the ending of Doomsday Project with them. I love that. I love I will admit, I'm a bit of a romantic at heart, and I love the romantic moments they would have with each other, flirtatious moments in the cartoon, as well as in the comic. And that, when 123 came out, as I was saying, I was still living on my own in Kansas, and I was just so happy. I was rolling a little bit around on my floor in my apartment because I was happy to see them back together, officially, officially once more, even though they never broke apart. As I said earlier, the only way it seemed like they broken apart is because instead of allowing Sally to go to public school at Knot Hole High with her friends, like everybody, like the characters thought that she should, and like it seemed to be insinuating it was going to happen. Instead, she ended up being tutored at the castle, not at the request or the order of her brother, more or less, but actually at the request and order of Jeffrey St. John, who was acting like the advisor. And in story, a lot of fans could see that he was just using this to make himself look good in the front of the royal family, make his team look good in front of the royal family, and potentially, if not more than likely, try to win Sally over to him again and get him away from Sonic. Or get her away from Sonic, I should say. But, yeah, that's, that's the only reason, like I said, that you can kind of sense why, Sally wasn't in a public school kind of deal down the line. But, like I said, and so, yeah. But, yeah, as I was trying to say, hey, when we saw the cover of 123, that was, that was a moment we've all been waiting for because, even though we knew they weren't actually apart, it's just the way the scenario, things were set up in the story that made it seem like that. But 123 thankfully cleared that up. But overall, in the end, guys, like I said, the consensus is no matter what you do with a couple like Sonic and Sally, in the story or whatever the scenario is, they always end up back together. And you look at the fan support for it, the fact that fans, will draw and animate things in the Sonic X style to include them together. They will, redraw a screenshot from Sonic X or a panel from Sonic IDW Sonic and all that to put Sally in there instead of, whoever, to be with Sonic. If that doesn't tell you that the fans want support this couple in a big way, I don't know what does. I don't know what does. But overall, guys, yeah, I just wanted to come on here, and again, I do apologize for the interruptions, maybe the bit of stream, low resolution at times, or low bit rate, and everything. But I just again wanted to come on here, just give you my thoughts overall once more on Sonic and Sally relationship and why it's so popular with fans and why fans support it. And that's really all I'm going to say. So, till next time, guys, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for chatting in the live chat for those that did show up. Thank you for those that will be commenting down in the comment section post live chat. Give me your thoughts down there on how you feel about the Sonic and Sally relationship. Thank you to those that watched me via the links on Facebook and Twitter. Hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say. Again, I do apologize for the interruptions and stuff. But again, I just wanted to get this all off my chest and, just finally sit back and discuss the relationship and why fans like myself support it. And hopefully, it gave you a better understanding as to why it seems, no matter what the situation was in the books, in the Archie comic books, or even today with the fandom, you always get Sonic and Sally back together in some shape or form as a couple. But really, that's all I really wanted to say, guys. So, till next time, if you want more of my content, basically what I'm trying to say is till next time. Let me get some coffee here before I say anything. But like I say, till next time, if you want to get any more of my content, besides here on YouTube with the live streams and all that, check me out at BW Rosses, Patreon, BW, which is also Brian Walmer. Check me out there on Patreon. Check me out at BW Rosses Discussions, BW Rosses Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast sites and services except for Pandora. I'm still working on the Pandora situation. Check me out on Vimeo at BW Rosses for any videos and stuff that may go up there that cannot go up here because of copyright, mostly like PMVs and FanVid, and the copyright mostly being like, songs and all that. Check me out there, as well as check me out at my Teespring store down below for merchandise and everything. We are growing it every day, or at least every other day as much as we can. So check me out there. And that's really all I'm going to say, guys. So till next time, God bless. Take care. I hope you all have a good day. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this little discussion on Sonic and Sally. Again, it's just my way of coming out along with a lot of other coming out along with many fans, more so than I think anybody wants to acknowledge, to talk about and show the support for the pairing because, again, the general consensus in the end, guys, is these two will always end up together no matter what the scenario. Whether it's official or fan-made, they always end up together. So, again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and thank you all for tuning in. Again, I know I'm going to get a lot of comments post-live stream, and you can also check this out when it goes up on the audio podcast down the line later on. And so till next time, guys, if you want to listen to it as you're walking or doing things during the day. So till next time, guys, though, take care. God bless. And I am